My name is Chase Sr. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report, and as always, no matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, more roster moves for the Niners, so we're going to take a look at those moves, what they mean for San Francisco. We'll get to that and a whole lot more. Before we do that, though, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All of our content here on the show is free. And when Niners news breaks, I give you detailed, deep analysis. As you can see here with these figures to my right, we're closing in on 165,000 subscribers, so join the movement and lock us in today. Roster move number one for San Francisco. The Niners have signed offensive lineman Michael Dunn. He was one of the offensive linemen who we talked about on yesterday's show, who worked out with San Francisco, and that has resulted in a deal. He played his college football at Maryland. He was undrafted in 2017. In his NFL career, he has played in 53 games and 9 starts compared to the other offensive linemen who he also tried out alongside. He definitely is the most experienced and accomplished player of that group, which is why I said on the show yesterday, if the Niners do make a move here, I think it's going to be done. It's done. He has made his stops from the NFL level to the XFL, to the Alliance of American Football League. So he has been on quite a journey, and I imagine he has a plethora of stories. Pretty good size at 6'5", 315 pounds from 2020 through 2024. Spent time with the Cleveland Browns. And the one big thing about Dunn, offensive line versatility. I think that's a big reason why the Niners are bringing him in addition to the overall experience edge that he had on the other offensive linemen who worked out and tried out for the Niners. Last year with Cleveland, Dunn logged 57 snaps at center, 87 snaps at right guard, 26 as the inline tight end when the Browns went heavy and they wanted to use him to block. And so throughout his career, he has played all across the line, which I imagine the Niners really like here. Offensive tackle, offensive guard, center, and then a blocking-heavy tight end. And going into 2025, as we look ahead to Week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks, tough game for the Niners on the road, really not sure which offensive line combination the Niners are going to go with. Is it going to be Trent Williams, Ben Bartch, Jake Brendel, Dominic Pooney, Colton McKivitz? Of course, we'll see if Pooney can play because his knee sprain that he suffered on Saturday against the Raiders, that recovery is going to take him right up to Week 1, so he couldn't miss that game. Another offensive line combination that the Niners could go with is the same 4 players, speaking of Trent Williams, Jake Brendel, Dominic Pooney, Colton McKivitz, but the rookie 7th-round pick Connor Colby at left guard in place of Bartch, who right now is hurt. Now, if Dominic Pooney is also hurt, that's another position that you have to worry about because you need a new player there at right guard. And I know a lot of people are going to say, Chase, I hate Jake Brendel. Why do you have him in there? He's not good enough. I agree, he's not good enough. I don't hate him. He's a completely average center. When he goes up against some of the top, most physical, imposing defensive tackles in the NFL, he oftentimes struggles there, but I don't think Matt Hennessy, Drew Moss, or Nick Zakelj are better options at center, and Kyle Shanahan and Chris Forster really like Brendel. Roster move number 2 for the Niners today. They have waived/injured running back Corey Kiner. And what this means is, Kiner in that Saturday game against the Raiders, I was looking forward to watching him because I think he's an NFL player, and he was going to get a bulk of the carries with all of those other running backs out. The other healthy running backs on the team that day, Jeff Wilson, who the Niners had signed last week, and Keyshawn Vaughn. I was pumped up to watch Corey Kiner. Contact balance, physicality, can break tackles, picks up yards after contact, pretty good pass protector when he's asked to do that. He's a little bit smaller, but he runs around like a bull. But in that game against the Raiders, we saw he got carted off. Severe high ankle sprain. A minor high ankle sprain causes players to be out for a few weeks. So Corey Kiner is already going to be out for several weeks. If he clears waivers, he can come back to the Niners and revert to IR tomorrow on Thursday, August 21st. If a team signs him, then he goes to that team. But the question is a team going to sign a UDFA running back at a position where you can find a lot of quality backs as UDFAs, late in the draft, high in the draft, middle rounds of the draft, everywhere, knowing that he's not going to be able to play for a very long time. And so this is a part of the Niners roster gymnastics here where I imagine they're hoping that Corey Kiner can clear through waivers so that he can come back to the team. If the Niners put him on IR, he doesn't count toward the 53-man roster to start the year. Then you figure it out a little bit later. If you like the player, you want that to happen. I'm not sure if another team is going to sign him because he's a UDFA back and because he's going to be out and not going to be able to play for several weeks. But that is something that we'll monitor here over the next 24 hours or so. I like Corey Kiner. I think that he is an NFL player. It's not like he's flashy, but he's consistent. He runs hard. He runs physical. He breaks tackles. He has unbelievable contact balance. This is a player who was a terrific high school player in Ohio, went to LSU, then transferred back home to Cincinnati, and he played really good football. And if it wasn't for the draft class in 2025 being so rich at the running back spot, I think he would have been drafted. But because it was so deep, that's why he was a UDFA. Why this also happened for the Niners and why they needed to let him go and bring another player in, and this could lead to the Niners signing other players as well, is because San Francisco is so banged up everywhere else that going into this preseason finale against the Chargers, as Jim Harbaugh and Trey Lance come back into town, they need bodies to compete in practice this week, but to compete in that game, and Corey Kiner is hurt. He counts toward the 90-man roster, so they need to free up a roster spot. Kyle Shanahan was asked about the Niners, once again being plagued with injuries here in training camp, and he said, it's something that we look into every year. We'll look into it more after this year. We haven't been able to have the training camp we normally want to because of injuries. Well, that stinks. This is a Niners team that is looking to flush that 6-11 year last year, and their head coach is admitting we haven't been able to have the training camp that we want to have because we cannot escape the injury bug. And I've talked about this a lot here on the show. The Niners have been top 10 in injury rate every year under Kyle Shanahan since 2017. Part of that is bad luck. Part of it has to probably, I would imagine, have to do with the Niners' approach and what they're doing prior to practices and prior to games. It could also just be a lot of bad luck hitting the Niners in places where they don't have a lot of depth, and so they need to make all of these other moves. Like, it is just a continuous problem for San Francisco. What we can do, we can put together a prayer circle once again for the Niners to stay healthy in 2025. Let's hope to the football gods that the Niners can be healthy this year. All right, more to get to here on the show, but I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks, for making today's 49ers Report possible, the #1 daily fantasy sports app. And right now, you can get $50 when you play $5 with your first lineup. Preseason football is underway. College football is nearly here, so don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. It is very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And it's the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which players aren't? You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. The best place to win cash while watching sports. So join the millions of users and sign up today. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. What I like about Prize Picks is all of the specials that they have to offer. For instance, Dak Prescott, the max discount, all he has to do is throw for 1 or more passing yards, and you get an easy win. So let's go with Dak, more than a half passing yard week 1 against Philly. Brock Purdy more than 233.5 passing yards, and then Christian McCaffrey more than 76.5 rushing yards as he makes his much-awaited return to this Niners offensive lineup. Get $50 when you play $5. Easy and exciting daily fantasy. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Get in the game with Prize Picks and run your game with Prize Picks. The next 2 roster moves for the Niners here. They have brought back wide receiver Malik Knowles, who was with this team earlier in camp, And they have also released defensive lineman Demone Harris. So those moves corresponding, bringing in Knowles and then releasing Demone Harris. And this Niners wide receiver situation, looking ahead to week 1, it is in a sticky, precarious situation. I mean, the Niners could be going through a battle just to have enough healthy wide receivers for week 1 against the Seahawks, because Brandon Ayuk is going to start the year on PUP. Jawan Jennings still not practicing because of that calf injury, and now there has started to be more trade buzz around his name. Ricky Pearsall has been so dynamic all throughout training camp, looked great in the preseason. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's the only thing that's holding him back from being a high-level player in this league. Jordan Watkins probably not going to be available because of that high ankle sprain that he suffered in week 1 of the preseason against Denver. He had been having a great offseason, spring and summer. Demarcus Robinson facing a potential suspension for San Francisco because of that November DUI arrest. Something similar happened with Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings, and he got suspended 3 games. Rashee Rice, now he caused a crash and a traffic holdup for hours in downtown Dallas, but he's going to get suspended too because of a driving incident. And so DeMarcus Robinson, I would imagine, gets suspended about 3 games. Jacob Cowing just returned to practice, but hasn't been able to do much. Russell Gage has had a really good camp. Hasn't done much in the preseason, but in camp he's been really good. And so looking ahead to week 1, like, it's going to be an uphill task for the Niners to get 4 wide receivers active for that first game. Like, we know it's going to be Ricky Pearsall for sure. Outside of that, who's it going to be, right? I mean, Robbie Chosen-Anderson might be an active wide receiver. Russell Gage might be another wideout. Jacob Cowing, hopefully, is another wideout. That's only 4. We could be seeing a lot, and I mean a lot, of 12 personnel, and the Niners running it a ton. And according to reports, that is why the 49ers are making calls looking to trade for a wide receiver. They got outbid by the Philadelphia Eagles for John Mechie, and then according to Diana Rossini, they're trying to look across the NFL, making calls to other teams, looking to see which wideouts they can trade for. That, of course, a developing situation in that regard. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. I'm always talking Niners here. I'm always talking Niners over there as well, so give me a shout.